Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, thanks to the team over at GETSUEI, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Takara Transformers masterpiece MPG-02 Cybertron Night Fighter Trainbot GETSUEI. Now for those of you looking to add this guy to the collection, I'll of course be sure to include links down in the description box below, and as you guys well know, I wasn't that impressed with Shoki, although this one does look slightly better, at least in terms of robot mode. So here for the box, some fantastic photography of the figure in both robot and train mode. As we spin around here to the back, we get some terrific product shots of this guy with the weapon alongside Shoki, as well as here in the combined mode, so definitely looking pretty sweet. Now as far as the collector's card goes, we get some fantastic artwork here at the front and some pretty weak statistics here at the back, which is unfortunate. So with all that being said, let's crack this guy open and see how he actually stacks up alongside his Trainbot leader. And here we have the Cybertron Night Fighter GETSUEI cracked open and out to the packaging, and as he comes packaged in his amazing looking train mode. Now hands down, these have got to be some of the nicest looking alt modes that Takara have ever put out. I cannot fault them at all. Upon first glance, they really do look like model trains, and overall the quality feels fantastic. This is a really hefty figure, although much like Shoki, I do have some issues in regards to transformation. Now we'll touch base more with this guy in just a second. As far as accessories go, we also do get a piece of track, which surprisingly is quite a bit different when in comparison to the one that come with Shoki. Despite them looking very similar upon first glance, once you combine them, as you guys can see, the actual train track itself is much larger for Shoki when in comparison to GETSUEI, so I don't think it's going to be possible to create a massive train track and have these guys gliding along it, as 9 times out of 10 they will actually become derailed, so that is something worth bearing in mind. We also do get a variety of MechTech ports for those who wish to combine it with the stands that come with some of the MP Seekers, as we do get this adapter piece which does peg here into the underside just in this tiny port here, which can kind of simulate these guys flying when in battle, which I thought was nice enough. Sadly I don't have any of those stands to hand, but I do know it is something you could do. Considering the price point, I would have much rather had they actually came with their own stands, but hey, what are you going to do? And then for the final accessory we get included is his blaster, which we'll see more of when in robot mode, but as you guys can see, sculpted very nicely. Sadly no paint at all, but I do like the sparkly effect that we get out of the plastic. And as far as weapon storage goes, you're going to want to come down here to the back, pop open this canopy, and there are some slots here that this section will basically just groove into. We can then close that up, and there we have GETSUEI with the weapon fully stowed away. Not looking too bad at all. And here we have the train mode, and it's fantastic. The attention to detail that they've packed into the alt forms is truly mesmerizing. These things look insane, and they've been completely painted. Everything you guys are seeing here is paint, which is just fantastic, besides the black plastic that we have here for the base. But as you can see, the attention to detail is just astonishing. We have some really nice intricate paintwork going on here for the handle of the door. I think the front of the train looks fantastic with the tail lights as well as the carriage adapter. We also do get these die-cast pieces which attach onto the top, which too have been sculpted so nicely, and this thing can actually roll along the ground with ease, as I do believe all of the wheels are die-cast, much like we saw with Shoki. So in all, such a terrific looking train. For those of you wondering as to what is the front, it is this piece, and you'll know that as this section here does face forward. So you'll want this piece here to be at the front to actually have the front of the train. So that is something worth bearing in mind. Now as far as the comparison goes, here we have GETSUEI compared alongside the Trainbot leader Shoki. And I believe Shoki was supposed to be a bullet train, whereas GETSUEI is slightly more generic. But as you guys can see, Shoki in train mode is actually quite a bit bigger, although that isn't so much the case in robot mode. So there definitely is quite a lot of engineering that has been packed into this, and you can actually combine them. As you can see, you can create a tender for Shoki, so just snap them there into place. There is a tiny bit of articulation, although they do become incredibly long. So if you do wish to go for this display on the shelf, you're definitely going to need quite a bit of space, but as you guys can see, it doesn't look too bad, and you can have Shoki rolling out in battle, pulling GETSUEI along with him. Now, with everything wrapped up here for the train mode, let's transform GETSUEI into his robot mode. So to kickstart things off, you'll want to take these sections and just set them here off to the side. Do the same here for this section. We can then come around to the back, lift this piece up, split this connection. Now, despite this being cast out of transparent plastic, I don't have an issue with it at all. The connection is nowhere near as tight as what we were seeing with Shoki, although I do have an issue with these sliding joints. So you will want to slide these out, and sadly on this side, as you guys can see, that has cracked in multiple places, which just sucks. These Masterpiece figures are so expensive, and I have transformed this, I'd say, roughly 7 times to prepare for this review. That is not on at all. I've had figures from decades which are showing no signs of breakages, and it's quite surprising considering this side appears to be holding up fine. So maybe I did just apply too much pressure in the wrong area, but considering how cracked that is, I'm not too certain, so definitely just be wary of this joint. You'll then want to take the wheels and split those out like so. We can then come up to this top section, just loosen up these joints here on either side, just like that. Now, there's really no easy way to do this. Basically, you have to take the front and the rear of the train and just flip out the hip skirt, just like this. And this one is slightly tougher to get out, but just pull that out like so. And then we can split here at the top of the train, just like that, basically dividing the 2 legs. So what you'll then want to do is take this section, angle this here out, and do the same here for this side. We can then take this, hinge this up like so, and do the same here for this side, so hinge that up. You'll then want to take these sections here, fold these down, and do the same here for this side, so just fold that down also. These are actually on slider joints, so you'll want to push the knee joint in, and then do the same here for this side, so slide that knee joint in. We can then come around here to the back of GETSUEI, take these sections here, slide those up, hinge this section around, just like that. Do the same here for this side, so slide this up, and then hinge these around, and just snap them in like so. What you'll then want to do is take this, rotate this section up here, and then snap that tab in there just like so. We can then make sure that all of this is compressed in, come around to this side and rinse and repeat. So slide this up, I'm trying to be as delicate as possible, and then just snap that section in and compress this here into the leg just like that. What you'll then want to do is take this section, hinge this around, and there is a tiny tab here that will peg into this slot, so just snap that in there. We can then take this section, hinge this forwards, and then bring it around, and there is a tiny slot in there that this circular peg will peg into, so just snap that in there also. Come to this side, and as you guys would guess, rinse and repeat. So snap that in there, take this section here, fold it out, bring it back around, and then just click that into place very securely. We can then now take the hip skirts, angle these sections down just to get them out of the way. And as I raise the camera up, this part of the transformation is slightly more straightforward. So you'll then want to take the top section of the train, hinge this back. Now this section will groove into this tab, so let's just snap that in there. We can then come here to the front, and basically you're going to want to pull this away and do the same here for this side. So just attach that. We can now take this section, hinge it down for now, rotate this piece around, and we'll come back to this in just a second. So here for the arms, this can also be slightly complex. So here at the back, what you're going to want to do is detach those on either side, just like that. We can then take the elbow joints, extend those outwards as well. You'll then want to fold these inwards, and then at the same time fold these panels here out to the sides. Rotate at the bicep, which will allow for enough clearance so that this section can then rotate around, and then we can swing this around and swing the shoulder around. So just to demonstrate that again, what you'll want to do here is angle this section here around, and then rotate this section around. Take the bicep, hinge this around as well, and then flip this panel up. We can then hinge the shoulder out and just rotate that down. You'll now want to flip out GETSUEI's robot mode head until it does actually click into place. We can then take this section, snap that in there. You'll want to take the front of the train wheels, shift these down until they do actually snap there into place, and then this section will collapse down and then will hinge up. Now the official transformation has this section sticking out. Personally, I don't like that too much, so what you can do is fold it down, and whilst it still doesn't look great, personally I think it looks a little better than this, but for the purposes of the review, just to stay faithful to the transformation, I will leave this up. And then for some finishing touches, you'll just want to fold these panels down, flip out the hands, rotate those around, and do the exact same here for this side. Flip that up, rotate the wrist around. What you'll then want to do is grab the upper torso and just shift this section back slightly. And here we have GETSUEI fully transformed up into his pretty decent, at least from the front, looking robot mode. Now I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I think as far as the Takara Masterpiece goes, especially considering the price is the same as some of the past Masterpiece that we've seen from Takara, these figures, at least as far as their robot modes go, look bad. They are so damn bad. The kibble is awful. I was really turned off by the amount of kibble that we saw for Shoki, and sadly here with GETSUEI it's exactly the same. Now with all that being said, the top half of the figure for the most part does look decent. I think the head sculpt looks really cool, almost has an Optimus Prime quality to it, especially with the antennas. I like the face piece, I think the chest from the front looks cool, but as we take a look at it from a side perspective, I absolutely hate how we have this glaring hollow cavity. Now this is a Takara Masterpiece. I've seen third-party companies approach these designs and they just appear to be way cleaner and slightly more straightforward as far as the transformation is. I don't mind these sections as they are accurate to the original character model. I think the arms look cool, especially with some of the black panel lining that we have, but as we just work our way down here to the midsection, this looks decent, but the legs are an absolute train wreck. That was something I said in my Shoki review, and I absolutely stand by it here with GETSUEI. The amount of kibble that we've just got hanging out to the back is atrocious. These look so ugly, especially from this perspective, and even from the front they don't look too great either, considering that we do get some gaps due to transformation. I just really don't like this at all. I think this is bad. I think us as consumers should expect more from Takara Tomy. They are the OG creators of Transformers. They've been making Transformers for years, so how they are being easily beaten by third-party companies is just completely beyond me. I mean, this is not acceptable at all. I think this looks so bad, and like I said, despite this here not looking the best, if you wanted to, you can collapse it down, and to be honest, in comparison to everything else that's going on, this actually looks decent, as the legs are just way too bad in my opinion. Now for articulation, GETSUEI does have a ball joint here at the head, which does allow for a pretty decent range. We do get full rotation here out of the shoulders, hinge joints out to the sides, kind of backward working butterfly joints. These don't actually lock into place, although can't butterfly forwards, which surely is the range of motion that you'd want to get out of these, so that is a shame. These sections can rotate out of the way, at least forwards if you wanted to. We do get a rotation here at the bicep, slightly due to the way that this section here has been cut out. We do get a double joint at the elbow due to transformation, as well as a wrist rotation, and the hands can open and close, mainly due to how the blaster integrates. If you do shift the torso backwards, it will allow for a pretty decent rotation here at the waist. The hip skirts can kick out to the sides to allow the legs to kick out slightly. We also do get a ratchet joint which can kick to 90, as well as can kick back, I want to say slightly, although this is fighting me, so maybe it can't kick back. So yeah, it doesn't appear as if there's any backward range of motion, which yet again, Takara Tomy, what on earth is going on? We do get a swivel here at the thigh, as well as a 90-degree bend here at the knee, which is pretty crazy considering just how much kibble is going on. But I mean, for a masterpiece, I would have wished for double joints, as we get better range of motion on some mainline figures. And then finally here for the foot, I think it's just the toe which moves. None of the kibble actually moves, so it is just some toe pivot, which again, I don't think is the best for a Takara masterpiece. So in all, train mode looks fantastic, combined mode, spoilers alert, actually looks pretty cool as well, but robot mode, much like Shoki, I just think is pretty bad unless you look at this guy from a front-on perspective, as this looks decent, but this, I'm gonna be honest, I think this looks terrible. Now as far as accessories go, in this mode he mainly just has the blaster, which we showcased earlier on. It can be simply pegged into the hand, much like we've seen with some of the past masterpiece figures, so a tab and a slot in the palm looks pretty cool, although if you wish to stow it away here in bot mode, you'll want to take the tip, fold this section up, and it will just peg into this slot that we have here for the back. Now, in terms of a comparison, here we have GETSUEI compared alongside the Trainbot leader Shoki, and as you guys can see, despite Shoki being way bigger in terms of train mode, GETSUEI is actually pretty decently matched. I mean, he's slightly smaller but not by much, but as you guys can see, definitely up there in regards to the back kibble that we saw from Shoki. I just think these Masterpiece G figures are some of the worst that I've handled from Takara, and it's such a shame. It's like I said beforehand, Takara Tomy, they are the masters of engineering, the masters of Transformers, and they really should be beating the third-party companies, whereas in this case, I think some of those other third-party companies are kind of outshining Takara, which is just unfortunate. Here we have a few mainline comparisons, the same figures that I think I brought out when I compared them alongside Shoki a few months back, but as you guys can see, here we have him next to Leader Class Siege Astro Train, Deluxe Netflix Bumblebee, and Leader Earthrise Optimus Prime, and like I said in that Shoki review, these MP Trainbots really do have an almost mainline quality to them, which is just such a shame considering that Takara Masterpiece should be the best of the best, and if I'm going to be completely honest, I think the engineering and just the overall enjoyability and play factor that we're getting out of Siege Astro Train annihilates any of these Trainbots. I mean, this thing is a mainline leader, and the kibble has been kept to a bare minimum. It's a triple changer, has a pretty decent jet mode, but has a really cool train mode, and I mean, when you just compare the two, I have no idea what's going on with these MP Trainbots. I know they're combiners, but come on guys, I mean the combine mode for this doesn't even look that sophisticated. It's not like it needs to turn into an arm or anything, it basically is just the train which has the back end standing up on the front. So again, very disappointed with this. And for a few additional Masterpiece comparisons, we have GETSUEI alongside Masterpiece Optimus Prime, Hound, and Bumblebee. Now turning to transformation into combine mode, you are actually going to want to get GETSUEI back into the train mode, as it will just be way easier for you guys. So first of all, you're going to want to detach these train line adapters and just set them here off to the side. We can then come around here to the back, open this section up and take the blaster out if you haven't done so already. What we can then do is come here to the front, take this section here and pop this forwards and then angle this section just like that. What we can then do is take this section here, put it back slightly, and then hinge this here all the way up just like this. We can then come down here to the underside, take the wheels, hinge these sections back until they do actually snap there into place. We can then take this section, hinge this piece out just like that, and as I raise the camera up, you're then going to want to take this section and just detach it. We can then take these sections here and hinge them out to the sides just like this. Come here to the underside and just split the wheels just like that, and now you'll want to take this section and actually split it right down the middle, which to be honest can definitely be easier said than done, but just split all of this here just like so, just to allow for some additional clearance. As what you'll then want to do is take the wheels. For train mode they are slid up, for combined form you're going to want to slide those down just like this. Okay, what we can then do is take these sections and you're actually going to want to hinge them here all the way down and do the same here for this side. We can then push that in, snap this section there into place, and rinse and repeat the same process here for this side. So snap that in there just like that, making sure that everything does look pretty fancy. We can then take these sections, hinge those up if you wanted to. I mean, I think for this mode they are supposed to be down just to conceal some of this, but you could hinge them up if you wanted to, but for the sake of accuracy I am going to leave them down. What we can then do is combine the two halves back together. So just make sure that all of this here is clicked in nice and securely, and then for some finishing touches you're going to want to take these sections here and just open those up on both sides, and there we have GETSUEI fully transformed up into his combine mode, which is the left leg for Raiden, which actually doesn't look pretty bad at all. I think this looks quite cool, and I'm hoping the combine mode is definitely a lot better than the robots as they are individually. As you guys can see, I imagine this is going to slide into what would be the thigh of Raiden, and yeah, it's looking cool. We do get an ankle pivot judging by how this is operating so far, and overall it's looking to be pretty stable as well, especially with the heel spur. And so, some final thoughts for the Transformers masterpiece MPG-02 Trainbot GETSUEI. Overall, much like I said throughout my Shoki review, an incredibly underwhelming release by Takara Tomy. Takara Tomy are the original creators of Transformers, and they've been producing masterpiece toys for the longest time, so this figure should definitely be way more superior when in comparison to the third-party offerings. However, I just cannot say that it is. I find it to be inferior, at least judging by some of the images that I managed to find online. I think the train mode is by far the saving grace of the individual robots. The train mode looks fantastic, literally like a model train. The attention to detail, the paintwork, everything about it just looks incredible. I do like the addition of the train track pieces. I think that's a nice touch. Transformation just in general I think has been way over-engineered. You literally could have taken the original toy, upscaled it, added a few additional hinge joints, maybe spiced up the transformation, and you would have had a pretty decent figure, as the designs to start off with are just not that complex. So why they've gone above and beyond to make the transformation so involved, I just find it to be rather unnecessary. I think the robot mode, much like Shoki, looks great from a frontal perspective, but from pretty much any other angle looks terrible, especially the amount of kibble that we have packed into the legs. The combined mode does look decent. I will say that so far the combined mode as a whole is looking to be the strongest out of these Trainbots, but as individual releases they're incredibly weak, and I just don't think that the train mode can save them, as if you want a cool train, just go out and buy a model train. I really don't think there's a need to pay above and beyond to actually get a transforming figure if you're not that fussed about the robot mode. So definitely very underwhelming. For the price I would expect more, and as far as the breakage that I had on my copy, it's just so bad. I've not even experienced anything like that on some of the most recent mainline figures, so why I'm seeing such a bad QC issue here on a masterpiece is pretty bad in my opinion. If you do want to add this guy to the collection, I'll include a link down in the description box below, and be sure to sound off down in the comments. Let me know if you guys think I'm being too harsh. Are my comments justified? And as always, I thank you all so much for watching. Until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.